Howard of me. I have not introduced myself. My name is Rachel. Now, some of you may know me and my story, and some of you may not. But that's okay, because I have been invited here to tell it all to you lovely people. So my story starts when I was out in the field with my sheep. I had spotted a traveler. Now, let me tell you, it had been a while since I had seen a man quite like that. He told me his name was Jacob. Apparently, he knew who I was. He said he knew my father, Laban, who was apparently his uncle. I know, this seems a little strange, but stay with me. This is just the beginning. It was then when we began to move closer to one another, and I realized just how handsome he was. You could say it's like that saying, love at first sight. I knew right away I would have to go and tell my father about him. And it seemed like father and Jacob liked each other. So a few months later, after we all got to know each other better, Jacob went to my father and asked to marry me. I was thrilled. I loved the idea of getting to marry my Jacob. Are any of you married? Yes. Were you excited? I bet you were. But of course, Father, he didn't make it easy for Jacob to marry me. He said we would have to wait 7 years. That was really annoying. All I wanted was to get married right now. But I waited the 7 years, and finally, we were set to get married. Or so I thought, anyway. The wedding day, it was approaching quickly, and I was getting so excited. And Father, he told me this was going to be the biggest deal, because he had arranged for there to be a massive feast. But sadly, the event, it didn't even turn out to be for me. I know, shocking, right? Because it was supposed to be my wedding. No. It ended up being the wedding of Leah and my Jacob. Yes, you heard me correctly. My Jacob married my own sister. I've heard of grooms running off to get married to other women. But seriously, my own sister? You think you know a person growing up with them, and then they go and stab you in the back like that? I then found out later that it was Father who set it up to be this way. Needless to say, my Jacob, he was furious. So he went back to my father and said, I still really love Rachel and I want to marry her. I will work another 7 years. Father, he said, all right, that's fine. That was all I needed to hear. I was cool with getting to marry my Jacob, even if I had to share him with Leah. You see, there's a bit of tension between Leah and I. She was able to have kids right away, and I wasn't. Right off the bat, those two, they had 4 sons. Reuben, Simon, Levi, and Judah. This should make me angry. I had to do something. I could not have my Jacob loving Leah more than he loves me. That's just not okay. You see, all I really wanted was children, someone I can call mine. This may seem a little dramatic, but I once told Jacob that if I didn't have a child, I would die. I had to think of something to do quickly, and I decided I'll just give him my servant, Bilhah. They'll have some children. I know, seems a little crazy, but what was I to do? Luckily, it paid off. She was able to have 2 children for me, Dan and Naphtali. Well, I was okay with this. Leah, she got so mad. What does she do in return? She goes and gives her servant to Jacob. And they have 4 more sons. Gad, Asher, Issachar, and Zebulun. How was I to compete with this? Leah and Jacob, they had 8 sons and a daughter. He and I, we only had 2 sons, to whom I had not even given birth to. But luckily, God heard all my pleading and my prayers, and he was able to grant me the gift of being able to conceive a child. We then had our 3rd son, who I named Joseph. Having Joseph, it sparked a major change in my Joseph. He said, I'm tired of living here in your homeland. So he went to my father and said, Laban, I will return home to my home. I'll take Leah and Rachel and all their children. But you know, Father, he didn't want that. He wanted us to stay here with him. But did we listen to his wishes? Nope. We decided to sneak away. We would be going to where Jacob's father, Isaac, was. Now I knew if we were going to start our own tribe, I would have to secure a few things. So while Father was off in the field, I snuck into his house to steal some figurines. I secured some figurines, meaning teraphim. Teraphim, it's kind of like similar to a deed of a family. Anyway, this would ensure that my Jacob would be the head of the family. So I picked the statues up, threw them in a bag, hopped on my camel, and we headed off to Gilead. Now, what happens next? Father, somehow he heard of our journey, and he followed us. First thing he does, he walks right up to Jacob and goes, why are things missing? Poor Jacob. Didn't have a clue what was going on. I mean, how would he? I didn't tell anyone I was going to take those statues. So Jacob says, you can look through our stuff. So Father looks through our stuff. He doesn't find anything. So sadly, he has to return home empty-handed. I am very good at getting what I want. And I hid the statues in a way that they would never be found. With that, we packed everything back up and continued on our journey. Somewhere along the journey, somehow I got pregnant once again. We were traveling and we had just entered Bethlehem when I went into labor. Now let me tell you, after just traveling, I'm exhausted. This is not how I wanted to have a baby. But unlike my first pregnancy, things weren't going well. I knew in my heart of hearts I wasn't going to make it. But the midwife, you know what she told me? She said, you're going to have a boy. And I thought, that's just great. I need that. You see, I wanted to name him Ben-Ani, but Jacob, he wanted to name Benjamin. But it's okay, because I knew I could pass on happily, because I had given birth to 2 wonderful sons, and I got to marry my Jacob. And my son Joseph, I'm so proud of him. He went on to be an amazing leader. I know all his brothers and even his father, they're proud of him, even if his brothers didn't want to show it at first. You see, that ends my story. But what I've learned through life is you learn lessons in your many years of age. I've decided to share a few of those with you. First, loyalty. It's important. I was always loyal to Jacob. When you're loyal, that builds trust. And trust is the cornerstone to any relationship. Also, avoid jealousy and unhealthy competition. I have my fair share of this. And honestly, when that happens, nothing gets resolved. You just create more problems or you add fuel to the problems that are already there. The truth is, my jealousy, it was unnecessary. I knew that Jacob loved and clearly preferred me over Leah. Because of this, I really should have shown my sister some kindness. But by the time I realized this, it was too late. Finally, and I cannot stress this one enough, look on to God. When I had my fertility problems, I was frustrated and I was taking it all out on Jacob. And Jacob, of course, he loses his temper and goes, you shouldn't be talking to me about this. You should be talking to God. He's the one who can help you. And you know what? When I did that, I was able to conceive. So don't spend your life struggling or striving. Don't feel you need to distress anyone to be happy. Don't block God's blessings on your life. And rest assured, God has enough blessings to go around. He has bounties for us. I have to go now, but I certainly hope you enjoyed having a visitor. And I know a few friends, they told me they would love to visit. Bye.